concerns Shia, Chazara, Mama. Asking about Shinu did an activity model.
Yeah. So in Bishul we realized that really there are four things involved. In order to understand, all the ideas of Bishul, there really were four structures involved. If not, then Bishul has a lot of halachas, and it becomes sort of like unwieldy. And a lot of people, really can become very confusing. So the first structure that we have to think about is the activity structure. In other words, it's called a generic activity structure. It's a structure of any activity that can occur. That was the idea of, because the essential idea of Shabbos is really all about activities, and therefore, what we want to do is create a structure. Why do we want to create a structure? What does a structure do for us, really? What is a structure? A structure is an arrangement of categories and how they relate to each other. And it's within those categories that all the different halachas, specifics, will fit. So when you look at the halachas of anything, what you're really looking at is the structure. And you're able to look at all the halachas, the way they're arranged in the structure, so it becomes much, much clearer. But what does the structure really do for us?
It really makes one out of many.
It unifies.
That's why it's much easier to deal with it.
Yes. So the first thing that the structure does, it unifies enormous amount of halachas. Something else that it does also, which is very important, is it identifies the parts of any given activity. It will identify the parts of any given activity. What's the problem?
Noise.
Does it still make noise?
I am in another 10 seconds it's going to be off.
Oh, yeah?
Hope so. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the importance, the importance of a structure is that, number one, it displays categories. In addition, it arranges those categories in its true relationships. But what it also does, it enables us to identify any part in any activity. It doesn't make a difference. We can identify any activity, specific activity, and just look at it and identify its parts. And also it expresses the relationship between all the parts. So what happens is that if you look at any given malacha, let's say, which is asa, you can immediately look at it, and since it's identical to the generic structure, you can identify any part in that specific malacha. And what the most important thing of all is all the halachas of Shabbos are really connected to what? They're really connected to the parts itself. The part. If you remember what the activity structure was, there's a subject. Remember that, and then the subject, he employs an instrument that does an action on an object that achieves a specific effect. And this is done in a certain time and a place, and so on. So all the halachas of Shabbos really are connected to a specific part. It's the halachas that deal with the object that you're doing the malacha to. So therefore, when you look at any real malacha, you look at its object, and all the halachas that deal with object now attach themselves, apply to the object of the malacha you're thinking about. What I'm saying is that the malachas of Shabbos are really all about the parts, generally or generically. And therefore, any malacha, since it's a malacha, an activity, those halachas which apply to the parts will also apply to that part in that malacha. That's the secret. You see. So therefore, all the halachas of object will apply to bishul. There's the object that you cook. You know, all the halachas of the effect will apply to the effect of bishul, and so on. That's why structure is such a very important idea. So we have what's called the activity structure that we have. Then I said, well, every specific malacha also has a specific activity structure. It's called, in this case, the bishul structure. That bishul itself has a structure. But the bishul structure is really nothing more than the general structure specified to bishul. So if you remember, we spoke about bishul. What was the structure about bishul? And what it was? What was the structure of bishul? Well, let's take a look at the general structure. There's a subject. Well, the subject of who cooks. You know. Then there was an instrument, right? And what's the instrument in bishul? What was the instrument in bishul?
Well, the fire, the pot.
Who?
The fire, the pot.
Yeah, what did I call it? I called it the heating device.
Last time we said, I think, the other way around, though.
I called it the heating device.
You said that the heating device is not an instrument. You made a whole thing.
Exactly, very good. What did come out? What was the heating device?
It's a subject.
Was that?
The subject.
Exactly.
Just as instrument.
Yeah, so it looked like, you know, the heating device of bishul looks like it's an instrument, but not really. How many different types of subject are there? How many different types of subjects are there in a malacha?
Subjects?
Yeah. Yeah, how many different types of subjects?
A Jew, a man, a woman, I mean...
No, that's the nationality.
Cotton, I mean...
That's the nationality. But there's what's called a direct subject. He actually does the action. Right?
39.
Who?
39?
No. What do you mean 39?
How many subjects are there?
No. No, how many different types of subjects are there?
Types of subjects?
Yeah. One is a direct subject.
Oh, that's the causative relationship. What kind of causative?
Yes, because one of the ideas is, what is the relationship between the subject and the effect?
Causative.
Causational.
Causation, yeah.
You know, in other words, what's the relationship? You have a subject, somebody does the malacha, and malacha is done, and then you have the effect of the malacha. For instance, a guy plants a seed, puts a seed in the ground, right? So he's a subject, but does he actually make the plant grow? No. He doesn't do anything.
Indirect cause.
He just what he did is he took the seed, which is a growth object, and he connected it to a growth medium.
It's not even a cause, it's like a condition sort of. He's not even a cause really. Because cause is the ground, the nutrients, whatever it is.
No, but he is a cause of some sort, because he's the one who connected the growth object to the growth medium, the seed to the ground, and he initiated the growth process. But he doesn't make it grow. You know what I'm saying? So what type of a subject is he really? He doesn't make it grow. The malacha is making it grow. He didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? So what kind of a subject is he? Forget about why he's chayav. What type of a subject is he?
Indirect.
You know, if I walk over to a guy and I push him, I'm the cause. I'm the siba. I'm a real subject. You know? You know what I'm saying? But what happens if I loosen the carpet? Let's say the carpet's, and I take out the tacks. You know, the carpet nails, right? And therefore the thing becomes loose. And the guy walks on the carpet and trips and falls. What type of a subject am I? I didn't push the guy.
You made it possible to happen. But
Well, I created a condition in which will
well,
allow...
it's not a cause, it's a condition really. It's not a cause at all.
Oh,
he's not causative really.
No, he is a cause. The question, what type of cause is he?
The condition
Then
is
the
also
question is, first of all, did he cause? And the answer, he did. But what type of a cause is he? Is number two. And number three, what's the halacha of that type of cause? That's how you have to look at it.
So the cause, he implemented the condition, that's his type of cause.
Well, so let's take Zorea. Guy puts a seed in the ground, right? So he did something, he initiated the process, but he doesn't make it grow, you know what I'm saying? The seed, once it has its conditions, it itself makes it grow. So he is what? So he's not a direct cause. A direct cause, right? What would be a direct cause? Korea. Guy's cutting. That's a direct cause. He is actually creating, the effect is what? That the garment is being split, cut. And when he cuts it, he's a direct cause. That's simple to understand. But Zorea, he's not making it grow, you know? So he's not really, he's not a direct cause. He is let's make a word. He is you can either use the word indirect cause, or maybe he's a participatory. He participates in the effect happening. So there's what's called a direct cause, and there's a participatory cause. Yes?
He satisfies the condition, strictly saying.
Yes, so he participates in the effect, but he doesn't cause the effect. Not directly. So we have two types of causes. We have a direct cause and a participatory cause. What happens if I walk over to a guy and I say, you see the light switch over there? I need light. Do me a favor. Turn on the light. Now that's an Amir Liakim.
But it's participatory cause.
Is it a participatory cause? Really?
Yeah. No. Because it doesn't have to. I mean, what if it
doesn't have to do it? You see?
He's not forced. He's not
compelled. So what type of cause is he?
Even weaker.
He's weaker. What?
A non-participatory cause.
No, he still participates.
He's a non-participatory.
There are different degrees of participation.
Well, we need a name for this, For every idea, we always need a name. He's what?
It's not a malacha.
What is?
Amir Liakim is not a malacha.
Yeah, but but it's asa.
It's asa.
So the Chazal recognized that he's something of a cause, or else they wouldn't answer it. If he was not involved at all, what's the Issa? So they recognize that there is a causal link. That's what it's called. There's a link between him and the fact that the guy did it. But it's not a true cause, like a direct cause. You know what I'm saying? And it's not participatory, because we don't know if the guy's going to do it. The guy can tell you to jump in the lake. Right? So we need another name. So the name I would give it is a contributory cause. He contributes. He doesn't...
I mean, there are other essential contributors to it also.
Because the one, who's the true cause? The guy. The guy is the real cause. But I contributed to that. So I'm a contributory cause. You see? Which is interesting. That there are many different types of causes. You see, So you can go through all the 39 malachas and all the toldas, whatever there are, right? And you could look at the fact that, whoever's doing it, what type of a cause is he? You know what I'm saying? Is he a true cause, which is a direct cause? Is he a participatory cause? Is he a contributory cause? And so on. Now that doesn't mean he's proper, but it does tell us the relationship between the guy, the subject, and the effect.
Because it's like a degree of causation, we could say in general.
Well, what's the causal link? Mm-hmm. There's a link between the subject and the effect. What is it? So that's why we have to recognize that there are differences. Mm-hmm. Now, bishul. A guy walks over, takes a pot, puts it right on the stove.
Participatory cause?
Did he cook the item? Of course not. and cook any item, you know. So then what type of a cause is he really? Who is the real subject?
Fire.
The fire, that's right. The fire is the real subject. The fire is the real subject, that's right. Which is interesting. If I cut a garment, what is the scissor?
Instrument.
The scissor is an instrument. But if I put something on the fire, is the fire an instrument? What do you think? No. The fire is not an instrument. The fire is a cause. What's the difference between an instrument and a cause? What?
Instrument is all. I'm doing it. It's my colleague. My colleague doing it.
Energy.
What? Good, keep going. Good, very good. What are you saying?
That's basically it.
What?
I'm doing it. I need an instrument to do it.
No. You have to be better. You have to be more clear. Be more clear. Say it. No, what's the difference between an instrument and its subject?
It's my colleague. My colleague is
so
that's me.
where does the force come from?
The energy. Maybe we should do the energy.
Well, yeah, the energy. You can say the energy. Force is a result of energy. Who is imparting the force?
So fire.
If an instrument doesn't impart force, I give it force.
Instrument transmits the.
Yeah, so the instrument, I give it the force. You could use the word energy, right? And then the instrument does something to the object. You see.
But it transmits the energy. It doesn't.
Yeah. Whereas the subject imparts a force. You see. So therefore, by that definition, a fire, that imparts the force. That's what cooks it.
Fire is chayiv.
The fire is chayiv, yeah. Doesn't even have to go to Gehenna because it's already burning. Yeah. But, so therefore, but I'm the one who put the pot down, so what kind of a cause am I? I'm not a direct cause. I'm the same thing as Zorea.
You're a cause of a cause. You bring the cause to make an action.
What?
You take the cause and you bring it to make an action. I was able to. So you're cause of a cause. I mean, you're.
No. So what type of cause is that? I'm a participatory cause. Yeah. So why was the term?
You set the cause in place, real cause.
Yeah, I set up the conditions that something else can now do, or impart a force to cook. That starts the action of cooking. So the question is, why am I chayav? I didn't do anything. I just put the pot on the stove. That's all. For me, you know. So why is the Torah chayav? You know what I'm saying? What do you think?
Usually Torah is not mechayev, indirect causes.
Yeah.
I mean, sort of psik ratio, in a sense.
No, that's not what psik ratio.
No, I'm just saying it has to happen. Even though I'm not the cause, but I do it in a way that now it has to happen. So it's like.
So you have to say the reason for that. In Shabbos, the Torah doesn't really care about if you are a direct cause or not, because derech bishul.
No, a real Grom is potter. It does care. Still, there is distinction.
Yeah, but in Shabbos, if the derech of the malacha is to do it that way, then that's what the Torah cares about. You know what I'm saying? It's derech bishul b'kach. People cook this way. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, since the derech of cooking is where that's the type of cause you can only be, you are chayav for that. You see. So therefore, even if you're a participatory cause, you are chayav.
Can you be chayav for a non-participatory cause?
Or give me an
For
example.
contributing cause. If you call an animal, if you do a charisha with an animal,
If you do charish with an animal, you'll be chayav.
you make an animal carry something. So it goes as an asset, to not to the animal.
Yeah, wait, but
It's not a malach, it's an asset. But I don't know
yeah, if you use an animal to pull the plow, right? So you are you also.
Animal's not an instrument.
No, it's a subject. Yeah, because the animal is actually pulling the what do you call that? Machresha, the plower, whatever it's called. Yeah. The only thing is you are, in a certain sense, almost like Amir Yakum. But here you're not telling the animal doesn't accept verbal commands. You are, using the whip or whatever, you're providing a motive for the animal to do that.
But it's more than a miracle because animal's derech is to listen. I mean, you're controlling really. You're not controlling a goy, you're controlling an animal.
Yeah. So therefore, since that's the charisha b'kach, you'll be chayav. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, we see that all these categories really have, different subcategories. The essential idea is that when you look at a general activity structure, it identifies every single part or every type of idea in any given category. Any category in the world doesn't make a difference. That's the importance of a structure, and it unifies everything, So if you take a look at the Bishul structure, we already have the activity structure, right? We have that, right? What do we have in activity structure? We have the subject, the instrument he uses, the action that he does, the object that the action is done on, and the effect achieved. Right? Besides that, the activity is done at a certain time, at a certain place. That's 7, right?
So there's an effect.
Effect was number 5, yeah. It's done at a certain time, at a certain place, in a certain manner. What?
How's it get here? A certain place?
Well, certain malachas need a certain place.
Like a Rosh
Hitzor.
What?
Hitzor. You need a Rishus Rabbim and Rishus Yochid.
That's you need a place. Well, that is what Hutzah is. Hutzah is only from one Rosh
No,
to the other.
what is Hitzor really? Hitzor is an action
Change
of
of domain, but is it? But
No.
changing of domain.
Yes, but what is it really? It's really transferring an object, but the action is to carry it. The real action of Hitzor is what? What's the action of Hitzor?
Transfer and moving.
Is positional change. You take an object from one position and you move it to another position. You see, that's the action. You know what I'm saying? But in order to be chayv hitzor, the action has to be not just a positional change; it has to be a domain change, a shina rishus. You see, but theoretically, the real action is positional change. That's what you're doing. That's all you're doing, really. You change your position. It happens to be that who cares? If you live in a house and you take a safe off the table and put it over there, who cares? You know what I'm saying? So it's really a positional change. That's the action of Hitzor. But that's not the Malocha. The Malocha is, you need to change, not positions, but you need to change domains, Rishuyas. You don't do that, so therefore place is critical in Hitzor. You know what I'm saying? So you have time, when, has to be obviously in Shabbos, but then there's Bein Hashmashos and so on, right? Then there's the concept of place, right? And then there's the concept of what? The legal consequences. Then the concept of customariness. Is this the normal way of doing this malacha? You know what I'm saying? So all of these are categories in any malacha in the universe. And what we do is identify all the different parts, and then we can take a look at any specific malacha and identify the parts of that specific malacha. Why is that? Like I said, the most important reason for that is not just to see the relationships, but to create what's called distinctions. I have to know, this is a part, this is an instrument, this is the action. It's the havchonas that you need to do. You see, that's the concept of a part is a havchona. It's critical always to look at a halacha and look at the havchonas, the categorical distinctions of anything. You see, Once you've done that, many things become resolved. You know. For instance, what are the havchonos of this table? There's the table. But what are the havchonos of it? What are the categorical distinctions of table? Right? What is it? Shape, size, material, density of that material, place, time, function, who's using it, subject. These are all different havchonos about table.
So complicated.
What?
Table's so complicated.
Yeah, isn't it? No, but the beauty of it is what? Why is that important? Why is it important to have havchonos? Because we don't just want to look at table. We want to look at table with all its havchonos. Why is that important? Because all the halachas of table are really about the havchonos. There's havchonos in the material. Look at the. Well, we'll do that one day. Look at chametz. What are the havchonos of chametz? Because all the halachas apply to the havchonos of chametz. It doesn't apply to chametz. It applies to the havchonos of chametz. What are the havchonos of chametz? What are the categories that you can list on chametz? And each one has a halacha connected to it, or many halachas. What are halachas of chametz? One.
Owner.
Who owns it? Good. Ownership. One.
Location.
Who?
Location.
Location.
Size.
Size.
Edibility.
Edibility. Good. What else?
Object. Like, what is it?
The object type. The chametz type.
Yeah.
What type of chametz is it? Great. You know? Who?
Time.
Time. What? All these things are havchonos. About what? About a little piece of bread. And all the halachas in Hilchos Pesach apply to what? To all the havchonos. There's havchonos about what type of chametz it is, a physical description, who owns it, where is it, when is it, etc. You see? That's why it's so important to look at the havchonos of an object, of a halacha, because all the halachas apply to havchonos. That's how you organize everything. You see? So that's really what we're doing, you know? What's another good example? What's another good example? Ishus. What are the havchonos of ishus?
Shalom bayis.
Shalom bayis. That's true. No. No. I got caught up in your joke. No. Shalom bayis itself is part of a havchono. Which is it?
Relationship.
That's right. Yeah, relationship. See, so the havchona is, what is the relationship in that sense? And the answer is b'shalom. You see, you know. But what are the havchonas of ishus? What do we have? What is ishus? What's the overall concept of ishus? It is it's bilus. Ishus is a certain type of bilus.
It's not a havchona. It's just general category what it is.
Well, no. So the havchona is larger than that. The havchona would be bilus types. One of them is ishus. See, but again, there's a havchona there. But on the bilus, what are the havchonas? One, the owner. Two,
An object.
the object owned, right? That's number two. Number three,
Obligations.
the obligations that the owner has toward the object he owns. Three. Four.
Rights.
Who?
Rights. The object has.
The rights. What rights does the owner have over the object? The legal rights. That's four. What else?
How to acquire the objects.
Great. How do you create ownership?
How to dissolve ownership.
How do you dissolve ownership? It's beautiful, see? Look how many havchonas there are. And in each havchona there are halachas. So instead of memorizing all the halachas, you just memorize the categories. And automatically you know exactly where the halachas fit. It's so much easier that way. You see?
It's easier to organize or to compare to other categories, to other similar categories.
Well, it's both. It's for you organize it much easier that way. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I'll give you the answer. The classic Derech Halimud that does havchonas, that is always looking for havchonas, is called brisk. What is the brisk derech really? The brisk derech is nothing more than a method of analysis that recognizes that any single halacha has havchonas, and therefore it divides the havchonas. And once you do that, so then the question is, let's say there's a machlokes rishonim. In what havchona is the machlokes? Is the machlokes on the halacha or really in one havchona of the halacha? So automatically it becomes much clearer, you see. So whatever you have, it's always important to create a structure that has havchonas. That's key, you see. Taharas. What are the havchonas of Tahara? What are the havchonas of Seder Taharas? Can we do it?
The source of
Who?
tumah. The source of tumah.
The source of Tumah.
Right, the object which is dominant. The mechanism of transmission.
Okay, but go up. Go up. Means look at the fundamental understanding. What are the fundamental components of Taharas? Always try to be as general as possible and then go down. So what are the fundamental components of Taharas, really? Everybody knows what Taharas is all about. It's all right. Right?
Tumah travels.
Who?
The travels of Tumah.
The travels of
Adventures,
Tumah.
Tumah adventures.
The adventures
No,
of
how
Tumah.
it's transferred from one to another and so on. That's
I want to define what is Taharas. Taharas, right? First you need a definition. Taharas is the study of the laws
Tumah transmission.
that... No. Taharas is the study of the laws that govern the flow of Tumah
Or the flow.
and its relationship to objects. That's what it's all about. The whole Seder Taharas is about that. It is about the laws, the study of the laws that govern, the laws that govern, determine the flow of Tumah and its relationship to objects. That's its definition. That's what it's all about.
What does
So if
its
you look at-
relationship to object mean?
Well, in that definition, what are the important ideas?
I mean, the flow of Tumah, I understand, but the
No, but
relationship.
take out, what are the ideas in that definition? Taharas is the study of the laws that govern the flow of Tumah and its relationship to objects. Look at that definition. And then take out, what is the fundamental components of it?
There's Tumah and Tyra.
There's who?
There's Tumah and Tyra.
What's Tyra? Is Tyra a thing?
The absence of Tumah.
So forget Tahara. Who cares about it? It's not a thing. It's an absence of Tumah. So don't deal with it yet. We want to deal with what is, not what is not. You know what I'm saying? So what is?
Objects.
Object is one, and
Tuma.
Tuma is 2. And the relationship is 3. There you are. Taharas is all about only 2 things. It's only about 2 things. A spiritual entity called Tuma and objects. And the relationships. That's it. The whole Seder is only about 2 things. Tuma, objects, and the relationship between Tuma and objects. You see.
Are you include the removal of tumor from that?
Well, now we go into, right? So when we look at now, so therefore, what do we want to study, really? We want to study all about Tuma. All about objects. Yes? Which Masechta deals with all about the objects? Okay, there you are. Kalim is a study of objects, but one specific question, basically.
Susceptibility to Tuma.
To who?
Susceptibility to Tuma.
Correct. Or Tuma entry. Yeah. Tuma can enter into the object.
Eligibility.
Who?
Eligibility.
Eligibility, candidacy, susceptibility. Exactly. That's all. That's what it's concerned with. But Kalim is all about objects and its ability to contract or become Tomei. Susceptibility, any of these words. I use the word Tuma entry or susceptibility. It doesn't make a difference, right? Great. You see? So, if you had to look at objects, what are the havchonos of objects?
Shape, material,
Oh, very good. 1. What type of an object is it?
size.
Right? Yeah. What type? Is it a keli? What exactly is it? What's the material of the object? The size.
Its usage.
Function.
Its shape, exactly. Its function, exactly. Usage. What's its legal state? Is it owned? These are all havchonos in object. You see? Now, what do we really care? And the answer is because each one of these categories has a halacha. They, in some way, will determine if tumah will enter the object or not. Or to use your lashon, is the object susceptible? Can it receive tumah? But first you got to look at all the havchonos. So Kedem is really all the havchonos, the halachas about all the havchonos of an object. You see. Okay, so that's object. Tumah. How would you understand tumah? What are its havchonos? What's the havchonos of...
No shape, no size.
Who?
No shape, no size. Yeah.
No shape, there's no shape, no size, no.
It's
What?
too spooky.
Too spooky. So one havchon is spookiness. What are some of the havchonos of tumah? What?
Degree.
Oh, the level.
Level.
The source,
Exactly.
the source maybe.
Who?
Source.
Source. Yeah. The origin. Where does the tumah originate from? It's level. You know what I'm saying?
How active it is maybe.
Its ability to transmit.
No,
But
it's not tumah.
potency.
Well, potency would be its level. Yeah. Yeah. But you see, tumah in and of itself, as a spiritual entity, has its own havchonos. You see. Now, what about relationship? How many ways can tumah relate to an object?
2.
2? What are that?
It's there or it's not there.
It's either present or absent, right? So it's either tomei or toho, right? That's how it relates. Yes? But not being there is not a relationship. How many ways can tumah relate to an object?
Just one.
Who?
Just one way.
Which way is that?
Tama. I mean,
What-
the status of.
It's tumah. What's the relationship that makes it tomei?
There's ear, there's touching, there's
It's
carrying. Through the ear, touching, carrying, no, that's not...
No, we're not up to that. No,
Relationship?
no.
It restricts it.
No. What, who?
It restricts it. It places certain restrictions on the object.
What do you mean by that? What does that mean?
You can't, because you can't bring in the rest of English.
No, that's the legal
Yeah.
consequences. That's later.
What's the question again? What do we consider?
How many ways can Tuma relate to an object?
I mean, object could be Tama or not. That's all.
Like levels.
No, that's presence or absence. But Tuma in its absence doesn't relate. When a thing is Tame, what's the relationship?
It has it.
It has it.
Whatever that means.
So it resides in the object. It's called residence.
Oh.
What?
Is it time? How long does it reside on the object?
Duration
Duration.
Duration. Yeah.
or life cycle.
But we're not talking about that. It's how many types of relationship can Tuma have with an object? It can reside in an object. It's there, and therefore the object is Tame.
Or it can come in, could reside, it could leave. So there are three.
That's one way. It can reside in an object. What other ways does it relate to an object? An object can conduct Tuma. It doesn't reside, but it's like a wire. The electricity can flow through a wire, but after the electricity leaves, the wire is a wire. So an object can conduct Tuma, but it doesn't reside in the object. A third way it can relate to an object is that the object stops. It's chitzetz. It stops the Tuma. You know what I'm saying? A fourth way this is just relationships. But they're all havchanas and they're all halachically significant. A fourth way is what? It can shape Tumah. It determines the boundaries of the Tumah itself. When you touch an object, what are you really touching? The object or the Tumah itself?
Object.
Maybe it's the Tumah. In other words, the Tumah expands in the boundaries of the object. But when you're really touching it, you're touching the Tumah. Maybe.
I mean, that's another Havchona, really.
Yeah, it's called the boundaries. It can shape the boundaries of the Tumah. You know what I'm saying? It actually shapes it. The shape that the Tumah assumes is the shape of the object. You see? So that's another idea. So Tumah can either reside in an object, right? It can be conducted by an object. It can impede the flow of the object, chatzitza, or it can shape the object, shape the Tumah. Isn't that interesting? There are four ways that Tumah can relate to an object. You see. What's number four? So look, each idea is critical because each idea is a havchon of taharas. So we have the object, we have the tumah, we have the relationship. What's next?
The flow.
Who?
The flow.
The flow. Well, that is the relationship, basically. The flow would be the relationship. But the next thing we talk about is an object that has tumah in it. It's called a matame. So what are the ideas about a matame? An object that has tumah is a matame. It's tame, but it's a matame. So what are the havchonas of a matame?
Ability to...
Does it have the ability to transmit? One. Well, first of all, what is the object that is the matame? What is the object? Two. Can it transmit?
Duration.
Three. The tumah in the object, what is its duration? What does that mean, duration?
What does it take for Tumah to disappear? I mean, how long does it take, or the conditions?
How long does it take?
No, maybe how long, maybe conditions, whatever it is,
How
whatever
long
the
is it
condition
there
are.
for?
How long is it there for?
Yeah.
I mean, till it breaks or whatever the
It's
conditions
there
are.
as long as you don't remove it.
So
What's that
sometimes
duration?
sometimes for example, if you had a trillium, so you know that it's there for the next 6 hours.
Oh, so what you're really saying is it's tumah that has a certain duration in which it cannot be removed.
Right.
Good. So what's that, number 4? What else is there? How does it transmit? What's the origin of the tumah in the object? How do you remove the tumah? These are all havchonis in a matame. And also, what is the halacha of its derivative? If a mace touches something, what are the halachas of that derivative, of that receiver? Is it the same as the mace? Different.
How is it different than objects? The first
Which?
category.
Because this area is a merger between an object that is tameh. Before we talked about objects in general that have nothing to do with tumah. Then we talked about tumah as an entity. Then we talked about, well, how does tumah relate to objects? How many ways? Now we're talking about, well, when object is really tameh, what are the havchonas? All the halachas of taharas is just about these 4 things. You see? Now just take a look at the Masechtas of taharas. Kalim is all about objects. Right? What's next? Olus. What's olus about? What is an oil really? Don't tell me tent.
It's a conductor.
An oil is a what? Is a shaper. It can shape a tumah field. Because the interesting thing about tumah is that it's bounded by the object. But a mace, the tumah goes beyond the boundaries. It goes bukas v'oileh, which is amazing. That the tumah, so it's not a tumah which is bounded by the object, but in a mace, the tumah actually goes up. It's like a field, like a magnetic field, which is, the magnetism is beyond the object. So it's a field tumah, you see? Now what happens if you put your finger right over the object? You're tameh. Why? Because you touched the tumah. So why you tameh? Because of maga.
Maga? Going on top of him is maga?
Who?
Going on top of the airspace of the mace is maga?
Well, you put your finger right into the beam. The beam. There's a beam of tumah that goes up, right? And you put your finger right into it while you tameh. You touch the tumah. It's really maga. It's interesting. Now, what happens if I take a tent? What happens to the tumah? So it bounces off the tent and expands sideways. So if you walk in through the door, what happens? You're tameh. Why? Maga. Why? Because you can shape, you can actually expand the tumah field. The hispashtus tumah, you can shape the field. You know, it's like you have a clay. You can make it bigger and smaller. So an oil really is a device that can shape a tumah field in those objects where the tumah isn't bounded just to the object. That's all. So an oil is really a device that does what? That ultimately can transmit tumah. How? By expanding the field of tumah. But the oifen of tumah is maga. That's why you're tameh. But the oil can bring the tumah to you, and you're tameh. Negoim. What's that about?
Is
What?
oil also considered a chaytzitz?
Who?
Oil is also considered a chaytzitz?
It depends on the material of the oil. Yeah. Yeah. It can be choitzitz le'av tumah. So that's a shaila. You know, does the oil choitzitz, which means it stops, or some oil it's choitzitz umevi. It goes right up. It expands and it bursts right through. It pierces the barrier. But it does 2 things. It expands and then pierces. When it pierces, it pierces the entire oil. So it's no longer a little beam, which is the boundaries of the object. It is now, the beam is now as wide as the entire tent. So chaytzitz and hamevi and so on. You see? What's Negoim all about? What's Negoim all about? Negoim is about a specific tumah. Matame is a person who had suras. and therefore he is now Tomei, and he becomes a Metame. That's all. It's a type of Metame. You know? How about Zov? Zova, Nida, Yuledes,
Same thing.
Mitzvah. Exactly. All five are Metamim. You see? So they have the same Hafchonas. What are they? How do they transmit? What's the origin of the Tumah? It's all the same thing, you see? What's mikvah all about?
Removal of tumah.
Removal. So, what is a mikveh?
A removal device.
Exactly.
Purifying device.
A mikveh is a device that can remove tumah, thereby leaving the state of the object tohor. Exactly. See how everything is simple? What else is there? Para. What's para?
Removal device.
It's another device that removes. Uksin. What's uksin all about? Cuts. It's about the object. Machshirin. What's a machshirin is?
Tumah entry.
Who?
Tumah entry.
Oh, who said that? It's how to make an object susceptible for tumah entry. See? So therefore it's a din. Where does it belong? Is it object? Is it tumah? What is it? It's object. You see? There you are. It's all taras. We just went through the entire taras and understand claw what each masechta is all about. Because each masechta deals with a specific hafchana. You see how simple it is? That's what happens when you break something down into hafchanas. You know? Any questions so far?
Are we back to Bishul?
Also Bishul, yeah.
Okay, so what are the hafchanas of Bishul?
Let me just ask you before we
Yeah.
go to Bishul. Time, place, and normal manner of action. Is that part of action, or is that part of the activity, as determined by subject, action, instrument, object, and effect?
Well, time and place is the whole activity.
The entire activity. Okay.
Yeah, but what was the other one?
Normal manner, customariness.
Customariness is really what? Customariness,
Is action, I would say.
actually, it's more than that. Is this the normal instrument? Is this the normal action toward that object to achieve a certain effect? See, customariness is really customariness or regularity, whatever you want to call it, normalcy, whatever, is really a hafchana in several categories.
Okay.
Yeah, technically. The guy carries, he puts it on top of his head. Is this a normal way of carrying? You know what I'm saying?
Okay. And the legal consequence is the same thing. Legal
No,
consequence.
so which hafchana is that?
Which one? The carrying?
Somebody carrying on his head.
That is the
Action.
Action, yeah.
No,
Unusual action.
No woman.
no,
The instrument.
the instrument. Because he's using his head.
The head of the
Oh.
instrument.
Now that was using your head.
Yeah.
So carrying with your hands is it's instrument?
Yeah, your hand is your instrument, exactly. It happens to be your bodily instrument.
Didn't we say that an instrument was something that like scissors? That's not you.
I never said it doesn't have to be you. I just said
That's something that when you impart it force and when you
So
stop
you-
using that force.
when you impart your force to your hand. So your hand is an instrument. It happens to be a bodily instrument, that's true. But it's still an instrument. It's, in other words, what do you use to create the action? And the answer is your hand. Hand is an instrument. The problem is that it's not normal, not here in Africa, people, I think, walk around with their stuff on their head, you know? But it's not normal to use the head as an instrument. You know?
I think you would do a good lawyer.
What?
You would do a good lawyer.
Good lawyer. You know? Yeah. So we take a look at so we have a regular activity model structure with all the hafchanas. For instance, under effect, when you do something, you create a certain effect, right? How many subdivisions are there of effect? We had a whole bunch.
Direct and indirect.
Well, first of all, that's called a link. One, the range of effects. When you do something, it has many effects that happen. What is the range? For instance, if you cut a branch of a tree, what effect happens?
Oh, different things.
You have many effects. One,
The branches cut.
the branch dies,
Object change.
right? The branch dies.
Yeah. Oh, the
Number
shape.
two.
The shape changed.
Well, you change the shape of the tree, but number two is what?
You,
Is it
you
true
boost. You boost the growth.
Exactly, it's called pruning. Number three, you can sometimes something is an obstacle, a tree, so you cut a branch so you can plow next to the tree.
Oh, the space.
The space, exactly. So there's what's called a range of effects. You see? So, for instance, if you dig a hole, what are the effects? The hole
Space.
or the dirt.
Oh.
Right? There's a third effect, you've exercised your muscles. You know. But there's what's called a range of effects.
Then it's unlimited.
What?
It's unlimited. Meaning
I don't know if it's unlimited, but there could be more than,
a change
people.
of shape of Earth. Yeah.
What?
A change of shape of Earth. Or the planet.
Well, that's a hole. I maybe said that you made a hole.
That was a real one.
Yeah, well, that's the whole, yeah. So many activities have many, it's called a range of effects. How many effects did you do? Number
And
two?
how far they go? I mean, sometimes there is a chain or whatever. Also,
Wait, okay, so one is the range of effects. What's the second idea?
the depth. Maybe
Who?
depth. How should it go? The depth. The depth of effect. I mean, it's not the range. It's like.
A range of effects simply means how many effects have been achieved. You know. Then you have number two, besides the range of effects, you have what was the intended effect? Which one did you want? Number three, which one did the Mishkan want? The Mishkan intended effect. Because if your intended effect is not the same as the Mishkan, what's that called? That's why it's so important. Then what else is there? Is it a direct effect? Indirect effect? You know. Is it an immediate effect or remote? See? Is the effect immediate or it'll take place much later? Like Zriya. You put a seed in the ground, it's not going to grow until 3 days. That's called a remote effect. You know? In fact, so that's the shiloh. What happens if you take it out before the third day? There's all shilohs on that. What happens if you plant it on Shabbos and on Sunday you took out the seed? So you chayav for Shabbos? Or what happens if you planted it on Thursday, and it started growing on Shabbos? That's why a remote effect is very important. Then it's called the ultimate effect. Listo amanas livnois. I destroy property. Why? Because I want to build on it. But there's no building taking. The melacha isn't to build. The melacha is to destroy. But it has to be almanas. You see? See, there's a whole different amount of havchonas in the effect itself. Now take a look at Bishul. Oh, what's the Bishul structure?
So we have it there.
Oh, you got it there?
Yeah.
What do you got?
We have this under subject, baking device,
Wow, that's fancy.
heating device, yeah.
Okay, let's see. What do we got there?
Fuel type, all
well.
on the right.
Where are we? Oh, subject, good.
So we have fuel
Oh,
type.
well, that's the activity structure, whatever. Mom, okay. Now.
You have it here in clearer.
Oh, okay. So what do we have here? So we have the subject, which is the heat, right? And what do I call that?
Heating device.
The heating device. There you are. What is the heating device? You know what I'm saying? And on the heating device, you have many subcategories. What are they? 1. Fuel type. Kash, vovo, oil. What type of fuel? The heat source. Is it the fire, the sun, chemical reaction? all kinds of heat sources, you know. Then the cooking method. What type of a method is it? Is it cooking, frying, baking, roasting, grilling, poaching? What type of method is it? Right? But cooking method is really all about what? Usually. You have it listed here, but you have to be more...
It's a draft.
Who?
It's a draft.
The first
Oh,
draft.
yeah.
First draft.
So I would have split it. See, you have liquid, right? The fire heats, cooks the liquid, right? And in the liquid let's say there's a potato, right? So what's the pan? What's the pot?
Instrument.
So the fire itself is the subject. The pot
And the water.
and the water is an instrument,
Yeah.
and they're called tildes or ish.
Yeah.
You know, that's why that's very important. You know, they are what's called derivative or secondary heat sources. You know, and then usually the cooking method is based on the heat source. If it's a pot and water, then it's called boiling. You know, if you take the object and you put it in the air, hot air, that's called baking. You know, if you take the stuff and you put it right in the fire, that's called roasting. If you take it and you put it right in the flame, that is called grilling. Is that what grilling is?
Barbecue.
What?
Barbecue.
Who?
Barbecue.
Barbecue. Yeah. So what was that?
Put it in oil.
Yeah. If you put in the oil, that's called frying. Exactly. So, but there's two things to consider. You know, it's really what is the secondary heat source, and therefore that becomes. So if you cook in the secondary heat source, as opposed to the primary heat source, which is the fire, those are the different methods of cooking. And therefore the different methods of cooking give you different tastes, and so on. And then of course we have, the last thing is called the temperature. What is the temperature of the heat source? You know, and so on. So those are the havchonos of what's called a heating device, and a heating device is really a subject, you know what I'm saying? But it's a direct subject, whereas the person who puts the pot or whatever, he is really only participatory. Yeah. Then action, what's the action? Is cooking. What does it mean to cook? What is the action of cooking? What does the fire really do?
Transforms.
It who?
Transforms the object.
It transforms the object. How? What is the process of really cooking?
Changes the molecular structure
How?
by means of heat.
No. How? How does it change the molecular structure of an object?
Making it ready to eat.
Make what?
Making it ready to eat.
That's the effect. But how does heat change an object, make it edible? How? Because it changes the nature of the object, either chemically or physically, right? But it does that by speeding up the molecules. What is heat really? What is the phenomenon of heat? When you touch an object which is hot, why is it hot?
High energy state.
An energy
There's
state.
a high energy state.
Well, and the energy is really the energy manifests itself in
Heat and other things, amongst other things.
molecular action. It's really the motion of molecules. You know, the quicker a molecule vibrates, the hotter it is. You know, that's really what heat is. Heat is nothing more than molecular motion. That's all it is. Molecules are always, atoms, molecules, they're always moving. But you can get them moving much quicker. That means when you touch that, it becomes hotter. You know. So could you imagine there are stars that are 100 million degrees? Could you imagine the molecules, how fast they must be vibrating? It's astounding what they must be vibrating. And when a molecule is absolutely still, what's that called?
Death.
Who?
Death.
Death. No, you're dead
Absolute
long
zero.
before that. Who?
Absolute
Zero. Yeah. Absolute zero is a state when the molecules in an object stop. Really stop.
Zero energy state.
A zero energy state, yeah. But that's impossible, they say. I think they got it down to like one half of a degree above. What's absolute to zero?
273 minus 273.
That's centigrade, right?
Celsius.
454, I think, Fahrenheit. What?
Wouldn't know.
I think it's 454 Fahrenheit. minus 450 degrees Fahrenheit is absolute zero. And they've got it down to a fraction of a degree next to absolute zero. But they can't get it down to absolute zero. You cannot make a molecule stop. It's amazing. Anyway, that's the action. The heat imparts energy to molecules which speed up. And that changes the whole composition of the food. That's all it is. Physically and chemically. You know, fast molecules do everything. Okay. The instrument is what? So the instrument would be the derivative. It's the pot, the oil, the water, you know. But the interesting thing about it is the instrument itself becomes a heat source.
It's a conductor. Oh,
Yeah.
it becomes a...
Yeah, it will conduct the heat. Then we have the object. We have a lot of havchonos in the object itself, right? So what do we have?
What kind of
type.
food?
Who?
Object type.
Object type. What type of an object is it? Is it a what? You know, is it a
Cow.
who?
A cow.
A cow?
Chicken.
Is it a
Chicken.
is it a food?
Is it a food?
Is it healthy?
Is it healthy?
A metal?
Is it metal? Is it clay?
Right.
Is it food? Object type.
Size.
Oh no, that's another havchana. Well, just what type of object is? Are we talking about a food object? Are we talking about a metal? Because bishul is on metal. It's also on clay, you know. Then the state. What do we mean by state of the object? Is it liquid or solid? Status. Was it cooked before? Is it raw? Was it semi-cooked? And so on. In other words, what is its status, its cooked status before that?
It's sort of like prior history.
It's prior history, that's right. Exactly. The size of the object. How big is it? The proximity to the device, that's right. How close is this to the heating device? That's a big difference. And then what's the temperature of the object? You know, so that's the object itself. All these havchonas have halachic significance. Tremendous. And all the halachas of Bishul connect, as we will see, to all this. Then we have effect. How many effects are there? Well, we have the range of effects. One effect is called edibility. Another effect is called heat. Heat, you know, you raise the temperature, you know, and so on. Those are usually the two major ideas in terms of effect. But in the effect, right, we want to know the degree of change. How cooked is it? And that's the, you know, Michael Ben Dressoi. Is it 1/3 cooked, half cooked, fully cooked? That's a degree of change or effect. Then the amount, how much of the food was cooked? A pound, half a pound. All this is negeh halacha, you know? Yeah. Yeah. And then we have the the action. That's the concept of normalcy. Yeah.
Time is also a big player over here. Is it done on Erev Shabbos? Is it done on
Oh
Shabbos?
yeah, exactly, yeah. That's right. So, we have the whole concept of a model of activity, which really comes out of the normal activity model. Then we have now, but the halachas of Bishul, if you look at it, is really not about an activity model. It's not even about a Bishul model or structure. What is it about? It's about 6 situations. The halacha looks at 6 different types of situations. What are they? From the simplest to the more complex. 1. Remember, what is a halacha? What is a halacha?
Beginnen met any halach?
Yeah, give me the definition of a halacha. A halacha is the required behavior in a given situation. That's what every halacha is. What's the given situation? Situation. It's a case. So every halacha consists of a case and a conduct. So therefore, there are 6 cases or situations that Bishul applies to. That's all. It's very simple. All the halachas of Bishul apply only to 6 different situations. And those situations vary about all these havchanos. What is situation 1? Situation 1 is called Bishul. You take a pot of food in Shabbos, right on the stove. Simple situation. That's called Bishul, Chatchila. Situation 2.
Shahir.
Who?
Shahir.
No. I like to build up situations in a logical order so it's easy to remember. So the simplest situation is you take a pot in Shabbos, you put it right on the stove. You know what I'm saying? A second situation is you take a food from the refrigerator that was cooked and you put it on the stove. That's called chimum. So one is bishul and the other is chimum. And I say because you do it both on Shabbos, right? And you place it on this, either it was never cooked or it was fully cooked and you want to warm it up and you place it on Shabbos. Situation number 2. I want to keep it simple. Situation number 3. In Shabbos, you take the pot off. You terminate the bishul process. That's situation 3. Situation 4. You take it off the stove, so you've terminated the process, but really you want to put it back on again. That's called chazorah. See, keep it simple. Situation 5 is you put the pot down before Shabbos. We're no longer in Shabbos. We are before Shabbos. Situation 5. Situation 6 is before Shabbos. I want to preserve the heat. That's hatmana. There you are.
Why do we have just taken off?
What?
Why do we have taken off the edge as a separate? There's nothing there.
Exactly. No, it's not that. There's nothing there. It is a real situation, except it has no halachic significance.
Just for logical reasons.
It's just a logical progression. You know, you put it on. You take it out of the refrigerator and you put it on. You take it off and interrupt the process, and then you put it back. Chazorah. In the Erev Shabbos, you put it on, or you never put it on. Hatmon is you never put it on the stove. In fact, it has nothing to do with stoves. It's a matter of wrapping it in some type of material that will either preserve the heat or add to the heat. But it's a completely different way of cooking. You see, all the others involve fire. This one has nothing to do with fire. You see what I'm saying? So there are only 6 situations in the whole Bishul. And the halacha looks at basically 5 of them, because one of them is insignificant. You're allowed to terminate the process. You know what I'm saying? Where can't you terminate a process? Why did I include that? Because there's a malacha where it's forbidden to terminate the process. Where?
Great.
Yeah, very good. Actually, that's very good. What did you terminate? The growth process. Exactly. You're not allowed to terminate a growth process. So it is, but there's another malacha where you terminate a process also.
Process of a malacha, or process
The process of bishul. Well, the process, yeah.
Process of the malacha, process
Yeah,
of
whatever
the
Well, you terminate a process, yeah.
Which leads to a malacha, whatever.
Well, the process, to initiate the process, like Zoreya is asa, and Koitze is to stop the process.
Shoichet is also stopping.
Who?
Shoichet is also stopping the process, right?
Well, yeah, but you didn't initiate. No. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
It's not really a process.
Yeah. Well, it's not a process. Yeah. Mechaber. You extinguish a flame. It's awesome. There you cannot madlik, and you can't be mechaber. But the key concept is if you stop the process of burning, you chayiv mechaber. So that's why I included this as a situation, but in Bishul it has no significance. Because there are actually malachas where if you stop the process, you're chayiv.
It's still significant because it's significant in other malachas, so it's still...
Exactly, so that's why I felt...
It's still a chiddush to say that it's not significant.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, yeah. In other words, Bishul is where if you initiate the process, you're chayiv. So maybe if you terminate it, you're also chayiv. Because koitz is the same thing. If you initiate it, that's zureya, and if you terminate, that's koitza. L'chaber. Havora. If you're mavir, it's you start, and if you're mechaber, so there are many examples where you terminate a process, you chayiv. So that's why it's a situation.
You're not chayiv for the termination of the fire.
What was that?
You're not chayiv for the terminating the fire. You're chayiv for creating the problem.
Which malach you talking about?
You're not chayiv for terminating. That's not what the chiv is. Not from terminating the fire. It's from creating. If you just turn the fire off, you're not chayiv from creating the chametz.
Yeah. Okay,
So it's a great.
No, but
It's not a termination. The action is a termination, but that's not what's.
yeah, because if it wasn't, it would be makalkal.
Right. But
If you
know
shut
what
the
I'm
gas
saying?
range,
If you shut the gains range,
you're not making clean, you're not making
yeah,
fun.
mechaber. Yeah. Well, you have to what mechaber really is and so on, but clearly the action is a termination of a process. Whether it has to be constructive, that when you get into the conditions of the malacha. But anyway, all the malachas of Bishul is just about those situations. And each situation, for instance, will look at all these avchanas. You see, Bishul, Chatchila, right? It's going to look at, the object state, what type of object is, the effect, the heating device. All of these avchanas have specifics. And, and when will a person be chayav and when won't he be chayav depends on the specifics in each of these avchanas. So that's really what Bishul is. In many ways, that's how you organize the whole Bishul, through these situations and through the Bishul structure.
But the situation itself is a set of avchanos.
Yeah, of chiyuv, yes. A situation can have many specifics, but there's only one that's chayav. For instance.
Okay.
Yeah, like object. If the object was fully cooked and you put it on, right? So you're potter because it's already in this bashal consorgli. You see what I'm saying? But also, it's also what happens if it's half cooked. There's only one particular set of required. There's only one particular set of specifics in which there's a chiyuv.
For that situation.
But each of these situations vary. Their specifics vary tremendously, but there's only one set of specifics that you will be chayav for. So the havchanas gives you the totality of all the possibilities, but it's only for one set or one group of possibilities that there's a chiyuv. You see, but the beauty of this is by looking at the structure and looking at the situations, then you just go through the whole bishul. It's very simple. You see why? Because we've categorized. That's why. If you looked at Bishul and just learned the specifics, you'd go crazy. Not crazy literally, but you'd have a very hard time because you're memorizing a whole bunch of specifics. But if you know categories and all the specifics fit into those categories and the situations, then you immediately, what are the required specifics, the set of specifics for Chazorah? You see? And what are they for Bishul, or Chimum, and so on? You see? Much easier. So that's what this does. Next week there's no Shir because it's Hanukkah. Everybody's having a party. But we'll continue the week after. You know. And we'll do something else. I was thinking of doing Sukkah.
We shouldn't continue Bishul?
Well, I wanted to show the different range of what you can do. Like we did Taharas today, right? And then we just finished Bishul. I want to show you the range of this whole way of learning, how extensive it is.
We did Sukkah for a while.
Did we? I don't remember.
Sure. The whole bunch of Shurim.
Did we? A couple of years ago. It was a couple of years ago. So what is that, you know?
It was still this Gilgul, I mean, just 5-6 years ago. No, but
That's
they're available, I mean, in very details. I mean, we went through...
That's a long time ago.
I don't think we ever did Nezikin. Anything about
Did we do Bava Kama?
Briefly. Very briefly.
Very briefly,
Yeah, we
maybe.
did.
Did
Maybe.
we?
I don't remember doing it.
No, very briefly, but not
Oh,
really.
do Bava Kama?
So it's just Sukkah camp, so you should know it.
No, but they're Shurim on the net. I mean, they're available.
So what? So what?
So, I mean, I know what it
Well, it's going to
is,
go
but-
back 5-6 years.
Whatever.
I mean, we'll do it, and then we'll jump around. I mean, I'm just showing you how extensive this way of thinking is. You know?
I mean, we only have 2 weeks left, so let's jump.
Yeah, might as well go to Shas. Then we'll do the Korban instruction, right? We did the Taras, Korban.
Yeah, so let's do just everything. Yeah.
Yeah, just so why not? Just to get a feel of the whole Shas.